This is Dr. Ariel Policano with your weekly webinar on the Genius Insight. We do this every single week at the same time, 9 o'clock Pacific, 12 o'clock Eastern, 5 o'clock British UK time. It's a great pleasure to be with you, and the reason we have this call is to answer your questions and build the community with the Genius Insight. So I'm here for you. You can ask any questions that you want on the Genius. You know, the Genius is nearing its 1-year anniversary, and before that we had the Infinity, which was, you know, working with that for about 4 years. And really amazing what updates that Ryan has really made in the last 10 months. The Genius has come a very long way. And I'm really impressed with the updates that Ryan is working on. Those of you who are in the beta testing group know that there's something really special, you know, coming down the pike here. So I think the Genius is really the best in the industry, and there's really very little that we can even compare it to. So congratulations for those of you who are new to the Genius, and welcome, of course, the friends who have been using it for a while. It's really, you know, something special under the sun, and something that's really fun to talk about and share with you. Now, we do have some amazing 4th of July specials. If you have not purchased your Genius, or if you want to tell people about the Genius, we have some special discounts, and we have lots and lots of special bonus programs this weekend. So if you're uncertain as to what the specials are, give me a call at 866-276-7788. Here's my phone number. I'm here all day, and I'm also going to be around for most of tomorrow. If there's any way I can help you with your Genius, get in touch with me. I'd be happy to do a 30-minute orientation with you. If you're new to the Genius and you need some assistance, let's not, you know, waste any time. Let's help you get up and running. I do have a mastery guide that can help you. I do have a video training program that can help you. I have lots and lots of resources to get you up and running. So don't hesitate to get in touch with me by my website or my phone number. Whereas Ryan is the brilliant developer of the program, I have been for years one of the lead trainers for the program, and I use the program in a practical setting in my practice. So it's a great opportunity to hear from someone who uses it, to get their perspective. I can help you in a practical way when you're thinking about putting the Genius into practice for yourself or for working with clients. So that's sort of the introduction here. I can take all of your questions and talk to you about some different issues. If you look on your control panel, there are 3 things that you can download. You can download our biofeedback ebook. You can download the database for our Entangled Insights to see everything that's in the Entangled Insights. You can, hang on one second, you can also get the first 6 pages of my mastery guide. So I would really recommend everyone download, go to your control panel where it says Genius Insight Training Manual. I need to rename that Part 1. You really need to download that because it gives you the philosophy of what the Genius is and what the Genius is not. And that's really important that you understand how to talk about the Genius and what it is and what it is not. I also have a special gift for you today that we're going to talk about. I'm working on a booklet of balancing recipes, that you can use on your Genius. We're not cooking anything except maybe we're cooking superior health and happiness. But with these balancing recipes, I gave these out at the conference, but I'm working on a greater booklet of those balancing recipes. And they help you with things like boosting your immune system, clearing food sensitivities, and just creating overall wellness. So I want to share a few of those with you today. We're going to go over those. We're also going to answer your questions. I want to remind you that the Genius Insight is a biofeedback tool. It tests the energy field. Anything that we talk about is in the energy field. It's not specifically in the physical body. So it's an important distinction. We don't diagnose illness. We don't say that you have a particular condition. And we certainly don't make any claims about curing anything. What we do is we reduce issues that are in the energy field, which are called reactivity. When we reduce reactivity, we're able to bring up vital force. And when we bring up vital force, we often see that people improve. So what you're doing when you're balancing the reds and the blues, the reds and the blues, the reds and the blues, is that you're improving vitality because you're decreasing reactivity. And that's really what this is all about. So let's get to some of your questions and talk about them, and then we'll get to the balancing recipes. Also, questions were sent in by Sharon. Let's see if the Sharon we're talking about is in the room here. Welcome, Sherry, and we got a couple of Sharons here. Sharon R is here, so Sharon, we'll get to your questions. Welcome, Kate from New Mexico. Welcome, Floyd. Floyd, get in touch with me today. I know you were trying to reach Ryan, so just call the same number and I'll get back to you today. Carol from the UK, welcome. Suzanne, welcome. Thanks for joining us. Our wonderful Trevor is here. Victoria's joining us. Maureen, a warm welcome to you. It's really nice to see the UK folks turning out, you guys, because we occasionally do get people who want an evening class in the US, and I'm really hanging tough telling them we just really are not able to do the evening webinar weekly at this time because we don't want our poor folks in Europe and the UK to have to tune in at 1 in the morning or midnight and so forth. So we're hanging tough with that position, but we will have lots of other advanced classes at a more convenient US time. So thanks for understanding, and let me just see if I can get this one document completed for you, and we will get to your questions. All right. I just want to get those balancing recipes prepared for you. This is a special bonus really for people who are attending today. Those who attend the class, let me just turn this off for 1 second. I can get this saved for you. You're going to like these, but I have to sort of do this during the webinar, and it's being very uncooperative. So we'll get this up and running for you. Good. Okay, I'm glad I got that document. Phew. Let's see if we can get this back up here. Awesome. Okay. So I just wanted to get that so I could give that to you in the control panel, and if you can't, good grief. If you can't figure out the control panel, I will email it today to everyone. So sorry about that. You guys need to see that. There you go. And then what I want to do is get this into the control panel. So let's go here. All right, so that's done. And I'm sort of juggling 3 plates in the air at the same time. So thanks for your patience here. Now let's see if we can get to the questions that you guys have, and just keep them coming. Just keep piling them on as you're thinking of them in that question area. No worries. I will get to them and we'll be able to answer your questions. All right, so let's see what we got here. All right. I'm making a new program. I could not figure out how to get back in and add some more items. Okay, I saw that in your email, Marcia. No problem. We'll take care of that. And Okay, Maureen says, I thought the first 6 pages of your guide was excellent. I look forward to reading the rest of it. I'll have the special access to the mastery guide in the next email. I'm really working hard to get that email out today to you so I can get you the recording today and the balancing recipes. You guys, if you see that balancing recipes there and you can download that, go ahead and download. I think you're really going to like that. Okay, let's see what else we've got here. What is the best frequency setting to use with the Neuro Remedy? You know, Pat, I don't think that the Neuro Remedy is actually when you're generating that Neuro Remedy frequency. I think it may be separate. It may live in a separate world from the rest of the frequencies. We'll have to find out. Okay, it's not about figuring out the control panel, it's finding it in the first place. And Marcia, and you are, you know, if you look in your, I'm not sure how you're logged on, you guys, but there has to be something somewhere that is floating around your screen, and it's in the shape of a rectangle. And that rectangle is your control panel. So it doesn't actually appear, maybe I can even get a screenshot. It doesn't actually appear on your screen, like you can't see me looking at my control panel. It's one of the weird things about GoToWebinar, but you have one. So anyway, enough about that. Okay, so we got an email from Sharon, and you can always email me your questions in advance. She says, I haven't had the Genius for long, so I have many questions. And she says, first, the first analysis recording voice and picture shows colors of red, yellow, and blue. How do I know what color to put into the zap tray and why? So Sharon, something that's really, really important is that you download where it says Genius Insight Training Manual Part 1. And that will answer all of your questions, just the first 6 pages of my mastery guide. If you can't get it from the control panel, then shoot me an email, ariel@awakentotalhealth.com, and I can get that over to you. You can get the rest of the mastery guide from me. You'll get an email learning more about how to get that mastery guide. Second question, on the other analysis colors, red, yellow, green, or high, medium, and low, respectively, which are the important ones to zap? Okay, I really want you to download that mastery guide because it'll explain a lot, but let's just go back to the basic concepts of the Genius and answer Sharon's question. That's what this is about. That's why we get together here. So the basic colors, when you go into System Overview and you do your first check of what's going on, you get several different colors. In the Genius, we have assessed your voice frequency. We've then compared it to other frequencies. From there, we get a number score. Numbers that are significant or numbers that show reactivity are numbers that are below about 150 or more precisely 100 and are about above 650 or more precisely from the color perspective above 675. Anything that is below 100 will appear in blue. Anything that is above 675 will appear in red. These colors indicate reactivity. They say the areas that are important for you to balance. This really specific meaning is these items are reactive. If you balance them, you will have less reactivity. If you have less reactivity, you will have less areas of stress and more areas of flow. If you have more areas of flow, it's very likely that you will have increased vitality in your physical body. Again, the only thing your reds and blues mean from a very strict interpretation is that it's important for you to balance them today. So if you didn't understand anything, even the English language, you could just identify items in red and blue and simply balance them and still have a successful session. So we'll just add all of those in there. So we've added the items that are in red and blue. As far as the quick zap is concerned, we'll just pause here in our interpretation of the colors. The quick zap is really a place where you do 1 to 5 minute balancing for a few items. So if you know you wake up, say, with a foggy head, and you say, I want to balance the brain anatomy specifically, you could choose that one item to laser focus on for 3 minutes and have a very powerful balancing of the brain anatomy for that time. You've got singular laser focus. You can get a little bit of the sound here. When you focus on just one thing, like in your life, when you focus on just the task at hand, you often get very good results, like you're able to really finish that task because you have singular focus on it. In the same way, you're going to get really good results when you know exactly what you want to balance and you can put it in the quick zap and balance it for that amount of time. However, when I'm going through a case or working with a client, there are many aspects which I wish to work on for that person. So I'm often working with many different areas. I'm layering the process, and I like to work in the main whole tray. The main whole tray is really ideally for 10 to 50 items. And when we put so many items into the main whole tray with a sweet spot of around 20 or 30, when we go to Progressive Insights, we get even more increased awareness because we have items which we will then identify as the priority items. So really better if we have a lot of items that we're choosing from, we're able to then focus on those very high priority items. Remember the Pareto principle, the 80-20 principle. There's probably 20% out of all the frequencies that we could run that will get 80% of the results that we want. So we don't have to run every frequency that's out of balance. We can focus on the ones that are truly the most important. So to go back to Sharon's question, the reds and the blues are the ones that we want to focus on the most. The greens and the yellows, we can really just, for the purposes of our discussion here, just agree that they are mostly in balance, and we don't need to pay a lot of attention to our greens and our yellows. From this screen, we can choose any screen that we think, there are 27 screens here, anything that we think is interesting. Anything that we find fascinating here, we want to explore further. Now, a little bit of a nuance is that in this particular screen, we can look at other screens more deeply that are any color. It does not have to be red or blue. It's a little counterintuitive, but let's just say that you know that you may have some chemical sensitivities. It may not come up here in red or blue. It's hard to explain, but in this first scan, these are all being compared to each other. And we're saying out of all the screens here, which ones in the moment are the very most important. But that doesn't mean that sometimes you don't want to know your mineral status or you don't want to know your chemical sensitivities. And in fact, when we explore it more deeply, you will inevitably find that there are some minerals that would be good for you to balance today. It really is just balancing the frequency. That's what's most important. You don't need to take the next step of interpretation, but I have found it can be helpful. That's another step that you can take. But in the moment, what you know is that you need to balance your frequency of sodium. You need to balance your frequency of vanadium. And down at the bottom, you need to balance your frequency of zinc. Hang on. You need to balance your frequency of silica. You need to balance your frequency of iron. That's really all that you need to know, and then to be able to hit that button and balance. That's all you need to do. However, what is interesting is that when you look at these, you may start to look online, or if you know nutrition, you may look at this and you may say, you know, I have been really thinking that I am deficient in iron and I need to look at that. and then you could get a blood test, or you could read about iron deficiency and say it matches your symptoms. You can take it a step further, but we never do that on its face. The way we explain this is not that it's a nutritional diagnostic check. It's simply a check for reactivity. Does it often match what's going on with people? Yes, it does. We don't make any claims about that. So, Sharon, I hope that explaining the reds and the blues has sort of clarified that it's really about balancing them. And when you're balancing them singularly, let's say that you're absolutely sure that sulfur is an important one for you to balance for whatever reason, you can place it up into the quick zap and just do that singular focus of any item in red and blue. When you want to do more global balancing, be sure to place anywhere from 10 to 50 items down into your main hold tray. Then you select the play button down here at the bottom. It takes you inside to Progressive Insights, where you're able to drill down further and really find where the important heavy hitters are for you, the most important ones for you to balance today. You can then just select, and we have found this to be a pretty good technique, the ones that are high, and you can check those. You also could just choose the Select All button and select all of them. There's nothing wrong with that. I don't know what's going on here. There we go. Okay, it is working. So deselect all works, select all. Okay, so you can do either one. And when you select these four, you can play the frequencies every day for yourself for 5 minutes, being a perfect daily balancing. You could do this while you're meditating. You could do it while you're doing yoga. You could do a 15-minute session. There's nothing wrong with that, but if you do it daily, you typically don't need any more than 5, 7, maybe 10 minutes of balancing per day. Okay, let's see if that was a helpful explanation and what other questions it's read to. Where do the colors appear to load into the tray? It isn't the colors per se that load into the tray, it's just the items that load into the tray. Okay, Kate says, what does it mean when your original scan shows up either red or blue, but when you go deeper, say for minerals, then you click the file and none of the individual items show in red or blue? You know, this has been an ongoing question, and I wouldn't sort of toss and turn too much about the definitive answer here. I think what's going on is that overall, in this section here, if this were in red and nothing came up red or blue within minerals, that it holds value for you to just balance minerals overall. This particular frequency is asking to be balanced. That umbrella frequency, for whatever reason, holds value in being balanced. But when we go inside the minerals, maybe all of this turns up in green and yellow. And so there's nothing in particular, there's no individual frequency that is asking to be balanced. Don't fret too much about it. The algorithms are correct, they're stable, but just take it as this is the reactivity information. In terms of pure reactivity, it would be helpful to balance that umbrella mineral frequency. In terms of when you get in here, there's nothing really that appears of value individually to balance. So that's really the, the pure meaning of it. Where you take it from there is totally up to you. You may go into minerals and say, well, there's nothing, there's no reactivity there. And, I often find that in that case when I'm talking to people, I'm very curious. I'm always asking a ton of questions. Is that in that particular person, they'll tell me they just started taking fulvic acid, or they just started taking some mineral drink, or they do a lot of juicing. So I across the board, I'm amazed that I'll find that the people, what they're doing is very much in line with the readings that we're getting. But don't fret too much about those overarching categories. Just sort of take them with a grain of salt. On items, Patricia says, on items with the Hertz frequency, is it better to use square wave if a virus, bacteria, or fungus expressed in Hertz? Is it better to use the sawtooth? It's generally better to use the square wave for infection. So the question once again is, if we're dealing with a particular infection, So let's just say that we go to, we've taken the infection panels off because of, we don't want to be seen as diagnosing an infection. But you can get my custom libraries, and in the custom libraries, I've been able to keep the infections panel, so we could just go here and add that to the client. And let's just take a look at that. I'll also get in the email today some information about specials, 4th of July specials on these custom libraries. I do have some new ones like the Living Tree Orchids and the San Pharma Remedies, which are very, very good for infections. Some of you have those because you have my monthly subscription service. All right. So, all right, so let's just go to infections assessment. Whoops. I just keep spelling it wrong. My brain has gone on vacation. Okay, there we go. So let's just do that one, infection assessment. And if we wanted to balance these, let's say we only wanted to do infections, let's clear out the bottom tray there. And we just want to do pinworms and Lyme, Helicobacter. Don't be surprised if a lot of infections come up for your clients or even for yourself. We are in an environment where the immune systems are weak, and we are facing a lot of infections, and just humans in general tend to harbor infections. It's really just about how much you are able to keep that infection in check. Okay, so we have these infections in here. What we do now is we go up to the top right to the navigation bar here. We tap on that, and then we go to frequency, shape, and form. Now, it's very likely in the next update this is going to change slightly, so hold on to your hats. We'll get to that in class and clarify all of that. Go to the square wave, and in the square wave, we now are able to better clear these infections. We'll go to Progressive Insights. We'll find out which ones are the most important. And now we balance the ones that are the real heavy hitters, the ones that are the most significant. I mean, really, everyone has some degree of H. pylori. It's just part of the natural microbiome in the stomach. But depending on what happens in your life, how much stress you're experiencing, how good your immune system is, it's possible that the H. pylori can become very abundant. They can sort of take over things, and in that case you need to balance them and take other measures. So at any rate, these are the ones that are most important to balance today. These are some Lyme co-infections, and we see the Lyme species down here, and this is actually, these are all Lyme co-infections. So interesting that they came up as priorities. And we're running the square wave now, which if you run any Rife frequencies, they're always run in the square. Well, they usually are anyway. So we're doing something strategic here and running them in a square. You don't have to do this. You could use the alternating selection, which is here. Let's go back to the navigation panel here. And when we go to frequency, shape, and form, if we just didn't know a darn thing about any of this, we could just put this on alternating. All of this is in my mastery guide, you guys. If you're confused in the mastery guide, those of you who are at the Portland conference know that I lay it out super, super clear. And so Flor, welcome Flor, she was in Portland at the conference with her mom. It was really, really so wonderful to meet both of them. And she says, when am I supposed to use the X10, X25, and X50 wave intensity, and how is it related to the wave form? Well, the intensity boosts the power and sort of turns up, it's like turning up the volume on the iPad. To what degree that the iPad is able to increase that level of power, you do boost the power. Where I use X25 and X50 is for people who are, X50 can be used long distance when someone is in an acute state of pain or suffering or an emergency or something like that, or they, you know, stage 4 cancer. Something very important where you need to have results very, very quickly. The other, let me just see if I can change this view for a second here and launch that highlighter. I don't know if that's going to crash everything. So X25 is good when you have somebody in person that you're working on sort of a hairy issue. So again, if X25 is good if they're in pain, if they have a very serious illness, if there's something that you need to make a profound change. So then you could increase the wave intensity. Really, 90% of the time I run my wave intensity on default. So I just use the default. Energy is energy, and it's, you know, I'm not really sure if pounding the energy makes a difference, but then, you know, if I'm myself or someone, you know, I want him to get through a tough issue, I have been definitely known to use the X25 and the X50 for those acute issues. All right. See what else we've got here. Oh, this is not cooperating. Okay. Let's quit the cursor for a minute. Go back to here. These multimedia things are not cooperating together. Okay. Is there any way to rescan the aura? Oh, this whole thing is freezing on me. Hang on one second, Kirsten. I'm trying to get to your question. All right. Now you guys all know the passcode. Is there any, let's see. I can't get these questions. Let me start from the bottom. In the panel you are using on infections, there are check boxes on the left. When will you use the check box or boxes? Okay, that's a really good question. So let's go back to Progressive Insights. And in Progressive Insights, there are these left checks. And when you read over the Mastery Guide, you'll discover these are the functional zone considerations. And the functional zone considerations are down here. They take you into the deeper root causes of a particular issue. You can check one or you can check multiple check boxes. Actually, Cherry, I think you got a gift of that Mastery Guide for attending one of the demos, so I would go ahead and download that whole Mastery Guide and check out the functional zones. Eli asks if the 3D animations are not working anymore. Remember, Eli, that for technical issues, it's very important not to put them into the support call here. We're really for functional questions of how the app works, but love you, Eli, and appreciate you so much. Go ahead and shoot a message over to admin@quantumhealthapps.com, and they will address that. As far as I know, it's very likely that it's not actually that's been disabled or not working, but the activation code on your particular device may not be active for some reason. So I would contact them and find out. Okay, and oh, Sherry, I'll send you some information on my monthly subscription service, and I'll get that out in the email too. It's really a good one where you get some custom libraries for free every single month. Okay, can you tell us the uses of the different frequencies? Not sure which ones you're talking about, Kirsten. Let me know which frequencies you're talking about. Okay, is there a way to rescan the aura as you do in the Infinity? Absolutely, yeah. What you want to do in the aura scan is you want to go into aura, right? You want to make sure you have frequencies down here, and then you go into the aura screen, which is right here, and you can make an initial scan. Usually the picture will appear there. We don't have a picture in this particular file to appear. So we scan it, we get the initial results, and boy, you really do need to be patient here. That seems to take a very long time. Okay, so you get this beautiful aura picture, and it does indicate sort of something going on here in the auric field. These are pretty high vibrational colors to start off with. Often we see lower chakra vibrational colors. What we do is you want to take a picture of the first one, okay? and that way you can compare it to the next one. Then you make your cycle very short, like a minute or 2 minutes, and then you balance for those 2 minutes right here. This is a little different. It's true that your main hold tray down here sort of acts like your quick zap. It doesn't go into progressive insights here, so it sort of just balances these all with equal priority when you're in this aura screen. The aura screen is like a monitoring device so that you can see how the aura is changing, or you can go back here later on, 10 minutes when you're done with your balancing, you can go back in here, rescan it, and see how the aura has changed. So you should always be able to rescan that. Okay. But are your library settings in Hertz? If they're hololinguistics, do we still use square? No, I think that the hololinguistics automatically, everything in your, I think you're confusing the name of the type of frequencies, Patricia, and believe me, I know it's confusing. Everything in the app is in Hertz frequencies. The only change is that that you can change the type of wave output, which is still in Hertz frequencies, by changing the selection to square, sawtooth, or sine. All right, let's begin the analysis once more, and let's see how the aura has changed in the past 1 minute. Welcome, everyone. We have great attendance today, and I want to thank everyone who's joining the support webinar today. Hey, Bruce, thanks for being here, or Brucer, thank you so much. And thank you, Marcia from Southern California, for being here. And Randall, I was just thinking about you. I was wondering if you had fallen off the planet there. So really good to have you. I'm sure you're traveling around having a good time. Sandra, who came to the Portland training, so good to see you on here. And Sandy from Oklahoma, nice to have you joining us today. And of course, our wonderful attendee we can always count on, our dear Annette, joining us from Tennessee. Good to have you guys on today. All right, now going back to this aura, now we can see what's likely happening here is that the person is pulling in a lot of healing. And it's interesting, we're getting more of this evenness and we're getting more of this green healing. Kind of a really fascinating sort of left to right brain imbalance here, perhaps. And we'd like to see these colors become more uniform as we go through our balancing. We might see a big change here, but let's just give it another minute anyway. Sherry says when she tested the aura, she had a fellow with a dark blob on the lower right disclosed an unrepaired hernia. Cool. Very cool. I haven't been able to rescan. Kirsten, whenever you have an issue, sign out of your app by going to the navigation bar, scrolling down to the bottom, choosing log out, then log back in. If you don't know what your password is, choose forgot password. Log back into your Genius and make sure you go to the upper right. You go to the upper right of the screen, you'll see 2 semicircles. That's called the sync selection, for lack of a better word. You sync your entire Genius and you sort of refresh it that way. So just to give you an idea, we'll look at this in a minute. I hate to sign out because I always forget what password I selected for my Genius. But you basically log out and then you log back in and then you sync your program by touching on the upper right of the screen, where you will see a selection that has 2 white or black semicircles at the top right of the screen. Oh wow, that's really, I've literally never seen anything like this. It's fascinating. So we've got this is where we're pulling in energy, this is where we're pushing out energy. It's really interesting. We've got this sort of a baby beige kind of a thing going on here, and then this. There's no particular specific explanation of these. In the Mastery Guide, I list all the colors and all the meanings for the aura, and I also explain that you're pulling energy in through this side and pushing energy out this side. This is sort of somebody who's in process, and eventually would like to see everything sort of even out along both sides there. Do you just click on the aura picture to start another evaluation? To start another evaluation, you should be able to hop out of here. Let's see. And if we do some, let's say we go back in here and we do some balancing. Let's do some balancing in here where we do some priority balancing. Interesting, we did some line balancing, and now it's just the biofilms that are active, which prevent you from really getting to the Lyme condition. What do you press to get the rescan? We'll go back to that. All right. Okay. All right, we'll go through some of these questions. Good questions, you guys, today. Excellent, excellent questions. I really do appreciate them. So we'll balance here for another 30 seconds. Kate asks, will you go over the bottom bar with harmony, alignment, energy, and overall average, how it works? Yeah, this is just a guide. This is just a gentle guide that lets the client know how well they have assimilated the frequencies, how well they have entrained the frequencies into their energy field. It's like how much of the medicine they have absorbed in terms of the frequency medicine. Once the cycle is complete, you should get a new number. We've just gotten a new number of harmony, 52%, alignment, 65%, energy flow, 61%, and overall average, 59%. So anything with the overall average of over 50% is a really good outcome. And we can stop balancing at that point. So we can wait till we get to 50%. We can keep balancing until we get to 70%. It's just that sometimes once you hit 50%, if you keep balancing, you may go low again. This is because the body is trying to work things out in layers, and sometimes it completes it and then it goes back in deep. And so you may sort of retrograde your progress and go to a lower percentage. But when you're at 50%, this says the body has really taken in that frequency information in a sufficient amount. Let's go back out here to the aura panel and see what happens when we go in here. So I see your conundrum. Maybe it's Kirsten who asked this. What you would need to do here is you would actually need to balance for another minute. So just choose a minute, and then we'll be able to refresh this and get a new sort of assessment of where the energy field is. All right. I get the second aura pick by coming back into the aura screen, touching the main tray for just a second. The option to do a second aura pick can happen. I usually find I need to balance. We'll see if we just stop it here. Yeah, you need to, oh no, yeah. So if you just do it for a few seconds, you'll get that option. I thought you needed to balance for a full minute, but apparently you don't. So good call, Carol, I think it was. All right. Okay. If you guys have any technical issues, remember you can always hit admin at Quantum Health Apps, or you can call the main number. If you guys don't know, Ryan is in South Africa for most of the rest of July. So if you want to call in the number, you'll probably get me. I'm taking over the phones, well, at least for actually the end of the week. Ryan may retake them beginning next week. So at any rate, we don't usually work with technical issues on the support call. The support call is a teaching call. So if you have technical issues, you can write into the, basically Carmen, you guys know, helps in the office, and then I can answer your call, your questions. A lot of them I have to end up deferring to Ryan, so I'll be the conduit to figure out what's going on. All right, so beautiful, this almost reminds me of like a tequila sunrise or something like that. It's got these beautiful colors. It's got those yellows and those pinks and those purples. I'm just kidding, by the way. And so what's happening here? It's kind of interesting because usually as people take in more information, they tend to get more greens, purples, and pinks. And we definitely see the purples and the pinks, but we see the interesting yellow. And I'm curious about this sort of lower chakra color may become activated because we're working on healing the infections. And that certainly is a more lower chakra experience. All right, is it normal to have a sort of chaotic aura when you have given a balancing support? Hilda, what do you mean by, I feel like you might be answering your own question and you probably have an inner knowing of truth about it, but Hilda, what do you mean by a chaotic aura? If you're saying that things sort of look choppy while you're doing the balancing, it's like you're molding clay. And sometimes when you're molding clay, when you're in the middle of doing the molding, it doesn't all look great. But when you're finished, it looks very beautiful. So I think you're probably tuning into something very specific and probably true for what you're experiencing. So energy goes in the left side of the body and out the right side, and the aura is facing us. That's correct. Energy is being pulled in here, and it's being pushed out this side. Again, the person is facing you, so if we ask what is their left side, it's this, and this is their right side. All right, is it best when we have reds and browns in the base indicating well grounded? Kirsten, that's not actually really the interpretation. It could be potentially the one that you're feeling, that you're intuiting, that it is more grounding. But generally we start off with more lower chakra colors down here, and generally the aura tends to sort of fluff up all around with greens, blues, and purples. So we like to sort of see this clear up. And I personally don't like to see those muddy, mucky colors as the person begins to balance. I like to see the whole thing sort of clear up and move into higher chakra colors. But you guys, I don't hang my hat on this, total exact interpretation. I leave it very loose, and I don't do a ton with the aura balancing. It is fun to do it at trade shows and show people their aura, but I don't put a ton of stock in an exact interpretation of the colors. And the energy field is very malleable. It's really fluid. So it's changing very much in the course of you administering these frequencies. And it can change for up to the next 24 to 48 hours after a session. So again, biofeedback is as much an art as it is a science. And don't get too hung up on exact interpretations. It's really open. There's a lot of sort of leeway here where you want to leave it open, not an exact interpretation. What it generally appears to be is this. What it could be going on is this. Don't make any concrete statements like, oh, this is because your aura is healing infections. We just want to generally give very general information. Is it true for left-handed people? Yes, it's as true for left-handed people as for right-handed people. Is the energy flow going into the left? Yes, the energy flow is going in the left here and going out the right side. That's our general interpretation. If you are feeling strongly that something else is going on, then you can interpret it that way. That's totally fine. Now, in the last few minutes here, I just want to get to these balancing recipes that you may have downloaded, and I want to explain something really kind of nuanced about it. So if you are a beginner, it might be a little bit too advanced. For the balancing recipes, which I'm coming up with more, I'll have a complete booklet available for download. There are two ways of using the genius. One is where you only balance things that are red and blue, and that is perfect because you're reducing reactivity. Perfect. You can reduce reactivity. You don't need to know one stitch or iota about anything in natural medicine or energy medicine to just balance reds and blues. Pretty much a kid could do it, right? You could explain the process. The other way is to use very specific frequencies for the person for an intentional purpose. Therefore, the frequency may not come up as red or blue, but we're using it anyway as a directed intentional frequency for this particular person. So for example, let's just say that we know the person has some chronic illness, or maybe they even have premature aging, or they're having a lot of chaos in their life, or whatever it might be. So we might choose a specific solfeggio frequency. Sorry about that. We might choose something like the 528. The 528 here is not showing up as maybe being the most relevant frequency for them for right now, but we're going to choose it anyway and put it down into here, or we could put it up into the quick zap if we wanted to only do one frequency. And we could just balance 528. That's not a bad idea, you guys. Why wouldn't you, if you know you're over, say, 25, and you are concerned that something may be affecting your DNA, why wouldn't you go ahead and balance the DNA maybe as a daily tonic? So in other words, to repair the DNA. Why wouldn't you do that on a regular basis, maybe once a week, maybe for once a day for 5 minutes? You know, it makes sense, right? But it didn't come up as red or blue. So can you balance it? Yes, you can. So with that in mind, and if if that's too much overload, then just ignore this particular piece. But with that in mind, that you could choose frequencies intentionally, even if they're not red or blue, then you can do this next technique. So in this technique, what we do is we take specific frequencies to achieve specific purposes. Like in my food sensitivity clearing, which could help people to clear and balance food sensitivities, we use, let's see if we can increase this. We use the sensitivities or the standard food panels, emotions, liver, kidneys, histamine. We use all of these in order to make that relationship with the particular thing better. So let's actually go to the immune system boost and talk about that one. If you want to boost your immune system, you can use a balancing recipe, even though these items might not appear in red or blue for that person. You follow this like the bouncing ball. The first thing that you do is you go to today's stress, which is in the body. It's funny, this was supposed to be easier to find the screens, and I don't know why it didn't end up that way. So anyway, you go to today's stress, and then you choose the liver, something else in here, and the lymphatic. So those are things that have to do with the immune system. Now here we can also grab the immune system frequency, even though we want to grab it in the next one as well. This digestion isn't in here. It's so weird. Okay, so then we go, and you might say, well, Ariel, how about if we add inflammation to clear inflammation? Okay, go for it. You can do that too. Then we go to the body systems, right? And then we're going to choose the body system of digestive and immune. So here I'm just going to grab digestive because I grabbed immune in the other screen. And I think it already went down in there. Okay. Then we're going to go to glands, and we're going to include the thymus. Why do we do that? Because glands in the... my brain has gone on holiday. Where are the glands? I keep skipping them, right? Or is it totally... There they are. I just keep going up and down, and missing them. So glands, we want to go into the thymus because the thymus is related to the immune system. We know often the thymus will atrophy, in the adult years. So we put that in there, and then I don't have that much time, but we go to vitamins and we add vitamin A and vitamin D. We go to minerals and we add, that should say zinc. We add zinc and selenium. We add the herb of echinacea. So we add Nogier A, which is actually for cellular vitality. And then we balance all of those in the progressive insights. Here we actually choose the select all frequency. And we balance that for a full 15 minutes a day, for the session. So that's to achieve a particular goal by intentionally choosing the frequencies. And that guide or that recipe list is now in your control panel there, and you can download it. All right, so the reference now, again, in my mastery guide, which lists all of the different Nogier frequencies, the meaning of the solfeggios, and why to use them, you will see a special offer for that in today's email. So we'll follow up with the recording and with the balancing recipes and the special for the download. So this has been an amazing session, you guys. You guys have asked such really awesome questions. If I've not answered your question or you have a specific technical issue, either get in touch with me, Ariel at Awaken Total Health, or if it's a technical issue, it's really better to go to admin at Quantum Health Apps. And remember, we have 4th of July specials, so if you want specials and you also want to get special gifts like some of my custom libraries, be sure that you make your purchase through me, and I'm available all day today and all day tomorrow. If you have a question for a referral about what the best deal is out there today, call me or email me. They're both equal because I check email and calls equally. So again, you can get me at the 866 number. That's 866-276-7788. It's on my website, awakentotalhealth.com. Here is awakentotalhealth.com. And again, you can email me, Ariel at Awaken Total Health, or even just go into the Contact Us on my website, and that'll get you there. I'm here every week at 9 o'clock, 12 o'clock Eastern to answer your questions. And thank you so much for your excellent questions today. Everybody stay safe over the holiday. Sending you much love and many, many blessings for your week. Take care, everyone, and be well. Bye-bye for now.